Hello and welcome to our video tutorial on how to create and design an informative dashboard with ArcGIS Dashboards. ArcGIS Dashboards enables ArcGIS users to convey and visually display information by presenting location-based analytics on a single screen. You've likely seen a dashboard in action in the past. A good example of one is the Johns Hopkins University COVID-19 dashboard that displays information like COVID cases and deaths by country, as well as administered vaccines so far. Dashboards can be set up as interactive and intuitive, designed to respond to your audience's engagement with the dashboard. You can display data at the same time in a combination of ways from maps, graphs, text, and survey responses. This can be seen on the COVID-19 dashboard in front of you right now. Great thing about dashboards is they can also be shared with others via a simple URL, and they can be embedded into your story maps. There are two ways to go about building an ArcGIS dashboard. The first one is to start from scratch. If you'd like to start from scratch, all you need to do is once you've logged into ArcGIS Online, find your username in the top right corner and click on this 9-digit icon next to it. You'll see that Dashboards is in your list of applications that you can access, and you just need to click this and a new tab will open. And to start from scratch, all you need to do is create dashboard and get on your way. However, I prefer to work with an existing data set as it's easier, in my opinion, to build my dashboard. So I'm going to head over to Content in ArcGIS Online, and I'm going to locate some saved survey data that I had my students collect for me in our local school. So my students were tasked with the responsibility of using Survey 123 to identify hazards in the school and assign those hazards a risk rating from 1 to 5. And this is that feature layer, this is that data sitting in a feature layer for me in ArcGIS Online. Now I want to click, out of the 4 options here, I want to click the one that says feature layer hosted. I'm going to click on that, and it's going to take me to the items overview page. Once the overview page for the feature layer opens, we just want to click on the thumbnail, and it will open our data in a map. And the reason we're accessing our data in a map is so that we can essentially build our dashboard around this really central map so that our students can really visualize the information that they've collected. So we can see that my data is sitting in what seems to be an empty spot. So my first job here is going to actually be to change the base map to imagery so that we can actually see the school appear. And at the moment, all of our data is sitting as red dots. If I click on a red dot, I can see that my 2 survey questions, what kind of hazard are you mapping? In this case, a trip hazard. And how dangerous do you rate this hazard? This was given a 4 out of 5. I can see the responses to my survey questions, as well as a photo of the hazard if I wanted to access it. Now what I want to do here is I want to symbolize these icons so that I can see exactly what type of hazard I'm looking at or what type of rating the hazard has. So my first thing is I'm going to hover over my layer. Sometimes you might need to click on the layer and you'll see that all of these extra buttons appear. I want to find the one that says more options. Click on that. I'm going to copy my layer. And in the copied layer, I'm going to again click on more options. I'm going to click rename. And I'm going to rename this type of hazard. I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to turn the second layer off for a moment, and I'm going to hover over type of hazard and find the change style button. And click on that. I need to change the attribute being shown. So the data that's being displayed on the map at the moment is just show location only. I want to change that to reflect the title of this feature layer, this attribute. So what kind of hazard are you mapping matches what I just renamed it to. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to quickly symbolize these colors. You can see that now I have a bit of symbology going. So a trip hazard is currently represented by red on the map. I'm just going to make it a little bit bigger with size 10. I'm going to repeat that process for each of my 4 hazard types and simply build them out to be a little bit more robust and noticeable for my students when they're engaging with the map. And you can see that these changes are happening at the same time. Magpies we'll leave as a nice strong purple and bump it up to 10. We can see that those colors are there on the map. I'm going to hit OK and then done to lock those changes in. Now I've done that for type of hazard. I want to also create some symbology for level of risk associated with the hazard. So I'm going to turn this layer off, and then this layer that I have, I'm going to click on the more options button again. I'm going to rename that hazard risk level. I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to click on the change style button. Make sure that I choose the attribute. So how dangerous do you rate this hazard? That matches what I've just renamed the layer to. And you can see I've got a bit of a smart theme going on here. I like to drag my labels in order from 1 through to 5. And I'm going to go with a bit of an increasing color theme here. And as it gets more dangerous, our colors get a little bit more urgent. Yellow, orange, maybe a deeper orange. And we just work our way through. And what I should have been doing, sorry, is I should have also been making them a little bit bigger again to reflect a bit of consistency in my map's symbology. So I'm just going to go back through and make my other 3 symbols similar size. These 2 colors seem to be fairly similar, so again it's a little bit of experimentation sometimes to make sure that you've got an appropriate scale going. And once I'm happy with it, I'm going to hit OK and I'm going to hit done, and I can check what that looks like on the map. It's really nice and visual. So what I'm going to do at this stage is I'm going to save my map, save as because it's the first time, and I'm going to create a little bit of a title and some tags for it. So we're going to call this ArcGIS video tutorial dashboards, just so that it's clear what this is being used for. You can create a summary if you want, and you want to save it in an appropriate folder. I'm going to keep it in the folder where my survey data is currently stored in ArcGIS Online. I'm going to save map. Now what you want to do is, now that you have your map, a big visual stimulation piece for your dashboard set, you want to go over to share. And you might choose to share this with your organization, or you might choose to share it with everyone. But what you want to do is, it might give you a bit of a warning that you need to share your data appropriately as well. But I'm going to create a web app. And you'll notice that up the top, I have 3 tabs. The 3rd tab is what we're after, ArcGIS Dashboards. So we're going to click on that, and it will prompt us to, again, create a title and tags for what we're creating. I might actually put this in capitalized letters so I know that what I'm creating right now is actually the dashboard itself. I'm going to hit done. It's going to create that dashboard web application for me, where we can begin to then create and design a dashboard and the appearance it begins to take. Now you need to begin building your dashboard. I like to begin by clicking on the settings button at the top of the page. And you might choose to go with a dark theme or a light theme. Personally, I like the dark theme. I'm going to choose a default text color as well. So while I'm at it, because I'm going with this dark theme, I'm going to go with a bit of a fluoro blue text color as a default. I'm going to leave the other layout options the same for now, but I can always come back to here if I want to make additional changes. I'm going to click done to lock those changes in, and you can see that the theme has changed to that dark theme. Now, to begin adding stuff to our map, I always like to begin by addressing the map we just created. At the moment, you cannot see my feature layers on, so if I hover over the top left corner of the map, you'll see a little blue button appear, and when you hover over it, you get additional buttons that you can press. Going to click on the configure button, and we're going to enable some of these settings. So I want to enable a legend for my map. I also want to enable a layer visibility. You might decide that a scale bar is something that you would like to see on your map too. You can give your map additional functions as well. I don't really want my students zooming in and out because we're already at the school level, and I'm happy with that. I'm going to click done to lock that in. And you can now see that I've got two extra buttons that have appeared on my map. I've got my layers list. You can see that they're both turned off, but if I click the eye symbol, you can see that my layer appears. I can click on the legend button to see what those colors represent, and I can switch my hazard one on and do the same thing as well. So I'm happy with that for now. But let's add a bit of a header or a title. So by clicking on the plus button at the top, you can see that we can add a range of items to our dashboard, and this is our go-to button to continue to build and develop our dashboard's appearance. So we have our map. I'm going to this time choose header, and I can choose the size of my header. It's pretty basic, but I want to change the title. So this title is going to be what should we call it? Hazard identification in my school. And you might use your school's actual name if you were building something like this around it. And you can see that I've got other options here. I can add a subtitle in if I want to, and you can see that this appears on the right hand side. It's showing you what it's going to look like on your dashboard. I don't want a subtitle in this case. You can add logo and a URL. You can see you've got options for text color and background color, but because I set these earlier, I'm happy with what this is looking like. And I'm going to hit done to lock that in, and you can see that that header has appeared at the top of my dashboard. I'm going to return the plus button, and this time I'm going to add a side panel. And in side panel, I'm going to hit edit. And once it opens, you can see that I've got some tools here, some formatting tools. I'm going to put in here. I might actually make it bold as well. About this dashboard. And I can just put some really simple text in that explains to my audience what this is about. This dashboard shows the different types of hazards around the school and ranks them in terms of their assumed danger. And you can build that out. You have the whole side panel to work with. And you'll notice that it builds out from the top in this case. If I wanted to build out some information or have a large space and have some information at the bottom, actually that's when I go to the description one. I can go and add some additional information. Like that might be author, and your student includes their name, but you can see that from clicking on the title it builds from the top down, and from clicking on the description it builds from the bottom up. Once you're happy, just hit done, and you can see that that dashboard is, that side panel has been added to the map. Now I'm going to add a couple of charts to our dashboard. So I'm going to click on the plus button again, and I'm going to click on pie chart to get us started. And I want to show types of hazards in a pie chart. So I'm going to click on this feature layer. And at the moment we can't see anything or any information about how that pie chart will look. So we need to begin working through these tabs to make that pie chart take shape. So I'm happy with categories from grouped values, but I need to choose the category field where I'm getting the data from. And I'm going to go down to that question in my survey, what kind of hazard are you mapping? I'm going to click that, and we can see that our pie chart begins to take some shape. I'm going to leave the statistic as count, and I'm going to head over to chart. If I'm happy with my text color, I'm going to leave it as it is, but I will make some changes to my labels. So we can see here, I can actually hide the labels. I can have them as values, so as numbers, or as a percentage of how many of the total number of hazards happen to be trip hazards. So 68% of all hazards are trip hazards in the school. I'm going to leave it as percentage for now because I know I can add a count down in the legend as well. So at the moment we're hiding our legend, but I can add a value count there. And we can see that I've got my numbers. So there are 17 trip hazards, which equates to 68% of all hazards. And I can play around with whether I want that to be at the side. I'm not too big of a fan of that because the pie chart is a little bit compromised in size. So I'm going to leave it as bottom. And you'll notice that that's cut off at the top. That's all right. We can sort that out when we go back to our dashboard in a second. But what I do want to do is I want to head to slices, and I actually want to color code these colors to match the symbology I created on my map earlier. So electrical hazards from memory was a darkish green color. Our magpies was a purple. And we can come back in here and modify these if we get them a little bit wrong. Potholes were blue. And our trip hazards were red. We can see that those colors have been applied to our pie chart. And really, it's about following the bouncing ball. I can play with the opacity or the thickness of the outlines as needed, but I'm going to head over to general. I'm just going to rename this. I'm just going to leave it as pie chart for now. But I do want to put a title on the top of this little panel that will appear. So again, I'm going to put center. I'm going to make it bold. Hazards by type as my title, and I could add a description, but I'm not going to because then it's just going to become a little bit too busy for me. So I'm going to hit done. We'll return to actions later on in this video tutorial, but for now I'm going to hit done. You can see that my pie chart appears on the map and on the dashboard, and we would say that it's really quite large, too large. So what we can do is, as we add items to our dashboard, we can rearrange it. So we can click between panels to adjust sizes, but we can also hover over that blue button in the corner to again make changes if we needed to, but also drag items or delete them. I'm going to drag this pie chart. You can see that little panels pop up and it shows you what will happen if I drop it in. I want to drop it in on the right hand side, sorry, because I want that map staying nice and central. So I'm going to resize my pie chart a little bit for now, and I want to add a panel in down here this time instead. So I'm going to go back to my add button, and this time I'm going to choose serial chart. And instead of choosing type of hazard, I'm going to choose hazard risk level this time. And I'm going to stick. We can see that I've got to work through my tabs. I'm going to stick with grouped values, and I'm going to choose my category field again. So this time I want to choose how dangerous do you rate this hazard. And we can see that I've got a bit of a column graph beginning to be created. We need to add to it to I guess symbolize it fully. So let's head to chart. If I'm happy with the colors, the text color, I can leave it as is. I can change the orientation of it. I'm going to leave it as vertical. I'm going to head to category axis, and I'm going to add in a title for my axis. So risk rating or risk/danger rating. I can play with the font again if I wanted to. I can also give some labels if I wanted to as well. But I'm happy with how it is. Again, it's follow the bouncing ball and just playing around. And if you make a mistake, you can always hit cancel and begin that process again. I'm going to go to value axis. I'm going to give this title of number of hazards. And I'm going to leave everything as is. I'm going to head over to guides. I'm going to leave it as it is. We don't need to add anything to guides. We're going to head to series. And I want to again match my color theme to what's being shown on the map. So instead of by choosing bar colors by single, we're going to choose by category, which allows us to make those symbology changes. So my 5 was that red color, it's urgent, and we slowly worked back to, that's the same color, a less urgent color. We can see there that color symbology has changed. I'm going to head to general. I'm going to add a title for it again, bold. Risk rating of hazards. And we're going to return to action soon, but for now we're going to hit done. We can see it's appeared to the map, and we need to again adjust things. So I'm going to hover over the blue button in the corner. I'm going to drag this table, and I want it to sit below my pie chart. So I'm actually going to dock it down here. And you can see that it's it's actually showing up quite nice and neatly. Just watch what happens. If I reduce the size of the table, we can see that my values on my axes changes. So you do want to experiment with what the best sizes are for you. But right now this is quite neat. We can see that again. I can check to see if my colors match here to what I'm seeing here, and make further changes by going back into configure if I need to. As mentioned earlier, the best thing about the dashboard is that it can be dynamic and intuitive. It can respond to the actions of our audience or the people engaging with our survey. And that's what we're going to do right now. So once I've set up what I want my dashboard to look like, which is this today, quite simple and straightforward, I want to head back to my pie chart, and I'm going to go back into the configure tool. And this time we're going to visit for the first time the actions tab. And I want my dashboard to essentially react to buttons or to clicks on my dashboard. So what I'm going to do is when selection changes, I'm going to hit add action. I'm going to click filter. And under filter, I'm going to click add target. I'm going to click type of hazard. I'm going to leave this unchecked. I'm going to hit done. And it'll take a moment to load. But essentially what this means is if I turn my type of hazard layer back on my map, and I clicked on trip hazard for instance, you can see that my map instantly changes to reflect only the locations of trip hazards around the school. If I wanted to swap that to potholes, I can click on that, and those changes take effect on my map too. If to go back and see all of them, I simply click outside the pie chart and those changes come back up. So we can see that it's intuitive and it's responding to what my audience is doing on the map. Likewise, I've done the same with my chart here, so I'm going to flick my layers over and I can have my legend open if I want, but I can click on 1, so hazards with a rating of 1, and I can see where they are in the school. I can also quickly see where my hazard of 5 or 4 are, because they're probably going to need more urgent attention from the groundskeeper or maintenance staff at the school. So I can quickly pull that information up with a click, and again to return my map I just click outside of the table again, and all of my hazards regardless of risk level appear again. So you can make those changes. The actions button under configure is where you can make those changes to really take your dashboard to another level and make it become that dynamic, engaging piece. We've now finished creating a simple yet intuitive dashboard. The last thing you need to do is save your dashboard so as not to lose your changes. I'd recommend doing this periodically as you go because you are working online. Now, to share this dashboard with others, simply head back to ArcGIS Online and to the content folder where you saved your dashboard. You can see mine here. I'm going to click on the title, which will take me to the dashboards overview page again. And on the right hand side of the screen, we can hit share, and you can share it with your organization or with everyone. And click save once you're happy with that. And all you need to do is scroll down on this page to the very bottom where you'll notice a URL has appeared. You can copy that URL and distribute it as necessary to those you want to share it with, or use the URL to embed it into a story map. Thanks for watching our video tutorial on how to create a dashboard in ArcGIS, and be sure to visit Esri Australia's education webpage to see other professional development resources.